Uncle Grandpa is certainly an odd show. It defies logic so much that using the word logic and Uncle Grandpa in the same sentence seems a bit silly. So it was nothing sort of absurd when it crossed over with Steven Universe. Fortunately for us, these strange dimension-twisting powers of Uncle Grandpa weren't actually canon in the show. But what if Uncle Grandpa's appearance in Steven Universe did mean something? We have a conspiracy here freshly put together by one of our own, and we're going to see how it stacks up. So what does Tim have in store for us? What if Uncle Grandpa and his crew are the creators of every cartoon show we love? Well, here's Tim's theory. Imagine the world of your favorite cartoon. It probably has a lot of neat characters and places, and probably some kind of drama to make things interesting. But how does the world and the characters you know and love come to be? What does it take to make a great cartoon? Uncle Grandpa describes himself as everyone in the world's favorite uncle and grandpa, who travels around in his RV assisting all sorts of people in their lives. Except this theory suggests that Uncle Grandpa is the creator of all of those cartoon worlds, and that his presence is a sort of brainstorming. He is literally inserting himself into the lives of these characters in order to help them grow into more interesting characters. Yet, his help also brings a measure of frustration and difficulty, because you can't have a compelling story without a little bit of conflict. This is why he calls himself Uncle Grandpa. He is everyone's creator, which is why he refers to himself as Grandpa. And he is a fan of his creations and wants to make their lives happy and exciting, if a little chaotic, which is why he calls himself everyone's uncle. But what about Uncle Grandpa's companions? Well, they could be the other people working on the show. Mr. Gus is a sensible producer. He keeps everything grounded and running smoothly, but sometimes he can be a bit boring. Pizza Steve, on the other hand, is the marketing expert. He views these characters and creations as a way to sell merchandise. Everything has to be cool and flashy for him. And Bellybag is an amalgamation of all of the resources the team has. Sometimes they can get the crew exactly what they need, and other times they'll have to just make do without, just like a real production. Which leads us to the crossover with Steven Universe. If Uncle Grandpa is a stand-in for the show's creator, then it makes sense that this episode isn't canon. It's a brainstorming session to help better understand Steven's powers. Not just for the character's sake, but for the creator's sake as well. And it pans out this way too. Steven much more readily makes use of his powers after the Uncle Grandpa episode. So, does that mean that whenever we see Uncle Grandpa, he's really working on other shows? Creators certainly aren't strangers to inserting themselves in their own work. Comic book writer Grant Morrison wrote himself into his own fiction so much that he actually came up with a name for it: the fiction suit. It was his way of exploring and talking to his own characters. That being said, I'm not so sure this applies to Uncle Grandpa. For one thing, this theory doesn't really account for all of Uncle Grandpa's friends. If they're all part of a production team, then where does giant realistic flying tiger fit in? And if the team is there because they're brainstorming for a show, then why are there episodes when they don't interact with anyone else? This is one of those things where it's hard to disprove, but there isn't enough evidence to make this theory completely sound either. So Tim.
Yes?
On the plausibility meter, I'm going to have to give your Uncle Grandpa conspiracy 2 Pizza Steves out of 5.
Okay.
Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Cartoon Conspiracy. In the comments, let Tim know what you thought of his conspiracy and if you agree or disagree with how I rated it. Make sure you subscribe to channel Frederator, and I'll see you guys next week. SpongeBob SquarePants has been on the air for 17 years. It is seriously one of the funniest cartoons to ever exist. SpongeBob has made us laugh and has definitely earned a special place in our hearts. But why is that? The characters, of course. SpongeBob, Patrick, Squidward, Mr. Krabs, and all of the wacky citizens of Bikini Bottom have made the show what it is. But is it possible that these characters aren't entirely original? Could it be that all the SpongeBob characters are based on the 7 deadly sins?